Hello, this is Willie, and we're ready for Lesson 8, January the 8th. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Before we get on that, I want to show you something. When I was out digging dandelions yesterday, foraging in my yard, I actually went quite a ways out, but I found more of my yard than anywhere. They seem to like people. I don't know. I think it's probably because we keep it mowed, and they seem to do good. But a dandelion has a dark root, and the leaves lobed. I don't know what you call that. It's not lobed, but you get the notches, toothed. Well, I was digging these up too, and when I got to washing them, I thought they were dandelions. I got quite a few dandelions, but I got some of these too, and I'm not sure what they are. If someone knows what they are, let me know. My email's papawillie@gmail.com. But they've got much more toothed leaves. They're actually not. They're actually like little leaflets. But they grow the same way as a dandelion. They're nice and green here in the middle of winter. They could be edible. I just don't know what they are. So anyway, that's my show and tell today. I have one more thing to say before I read the lesson. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Had a good friend of mine, Keith, that asked me something. Before I tell you what he asked me, I got to tell you something that happened to me. I went over to pick up my nephew, Kyle, to take him to the doctor today. And when I got there, I knocked and no one answered. And I finally tried to call him, couldn't get an answer. Called his sister who he lives with, and she said, "Well, the door's unlocked. Go on in. Tell the dogs their name." And well, I went in and I found him already crossed over. His body was laying there in bed. So for the next 3 hours, went through the protocols of 911, the sheriff, and the coroner, and then the transport to the crematorium. Anyway, my friend Keith asked me, he said, "So how did your lesson today help you?" Because I've been telling everybody that use these lessons through the day to help get you through the day. Keep thinking about that idea all day long. Even though we're only to do the lesson maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day, use it during the day though. And I told him, I said, well, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I actually thought a lot about this today. That I was raised thinking that the dead don't talk and don't know. At least they can't communicate to me. But over the years as I've been studying, I realized that we're more aware after we die than we were when we were in our bodies. So when we leave this body, we watch, we look. We may not be able to communicate to everybody. It's not sensitive enough to hear, which I don't claim to be all that sensitive, but I do think Kyle spoke to me a couple times. He said, "Will, don't bring me back." I did think about trying to do some resuscitation on him when I first got there, but I could tell by looking that he had been gone for a few minutes. And so I had this really wonderful experience of staying in the present moment instead of bringing my past thoughts to cloud the concept. And I communed with him. I said, "Hey, Kyle, I know you're listening, and I appreciate your life, and you're going to see a bright light. I know you're already feeling really, really wonderful, and I just encourage you to head towards that light, feel the love, know that all is well." So that's how that particular lesson helped me today. Okay, let's get to the lesson. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. The idea is, of course, the reason why you see only the past. No one really sees anything. He sees only his thoughts projected outward. The mind's preoccupation with the past is the cause of the total misconception about time from which your seeing suffers. Your mind cannot grasp the present, which is the only time there is. It therefore cannot understand time and cannot, in fact, understand anything. The only wholly true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few minds have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or in anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this, because it is not really thinking about anything. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it is not really thinking about anything. Paragraph 3. The purpose of the exercises for today is to begin to train your mind to recognize when it is not really thinking at all. While thoughtless ideas preoccupy your mind, the truth is blocked. Recognizing that your mind has been merely blank, rather than believing that it is filled with real ideas, is the first step in opening the way to vision. 4. The exercises for today should be done with eyes closed. This is because you actually cannot see anything, and it is easier to recognize that, no matter how vividly you may picture a thought, you are not seeing anything. With a little investment as possible, search your mind for the usual minute or so, merely noting the thoughts you find there. Name each one by the central figure or theme it contains, and pass on to the next. Introduce the practice period by saying, I seem to be thinking about. So in that minute or so that we're going to spend in our internal quest, we're going to start by saying, I seem to be thinking about. And then allow the thoughts to come, and then name each of your thoughts specifically. For example, I seem to be thinking about name of a person, or about name of an object, or about name of an emotion. So specify what you're thinking about, and so on. Concluding at the end of the mind-searching period with, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. And the last paragraph, 10. This can be done 4 or 5 times during the day unless you find it irritates you. If you find it trying, 3 or 4 times are sufficient. You might find it helpful, however, to include your irritation or any emotion which the idea for today may introduce in the mind searching itself. One more thing before we close. I a lot of times will write the lesson down on a little index card and keep it in my pocket, particularly the first time I went through the course, because these things, they're hard to remember and you want to really kind of memorize them. So having them in your pocket, you can pull it out during the day, and when it's time to meditate, you won't have to open your book each time. But usually the italicized portions are the ones that you'll want to write down. Like on today's lesson, I'd probably put my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, and you might put down, I seem to be thinking about. And that'll help remind you of what you need to do in your practice period. And as always, be aware of God's wonderful blessings. And as we know, life is eternal. I say that from my nephew Kyle. Peace.